drinking. So, guys, today is day 3 of sobriety for me, and I feel good. I just wanted to update you guys on that. I don't want to make a habit of updating you guys on all that because for those of you who didn't watch my live yesterday, I am going through sobriety. So, Sosua is not just a place to party, it's also a place to get clean and, fix your life up if that's what you want to do. I would encourage you to watch my video that I did yesterday, just so you can kind of get a more of a concept on what I'm going through right now. And who's this? Horace. Hi. Hola. How are you? Excuse me, guys. Long time no hear from you. Very sad about Haiti. Oh, yes. It's like they can't catch a break, and we just got to send prayers out to Haiti, all of us. There's a lot of Haitians here that are worried about their family in Haiti. They can't get to them. First the president, and now this. A little uncomfortable, I think, for everyone involved. How does the earthquake, here in the North Coast, I didn't feel anything. A woman that was, I talked to the other day, she said she felt something, but she's the only one that said that. Nobody else did I really hear that from. And Stephen Smart. Hey, Stephen. Hi, Cerise. Hope you are well. I am good, Stephen. I hope you're doing well too, sweetheart. And then we have Horace. Aren't you guys on the same island? Yes, we are on the same island, Haiti and the Dominican Republic. But Haiti is down further by the other tip, and we are on the north coast here. But that usually doesn't even make a difference because I heard 7 years ago when they had an earthquake in Haiti, it actually hit a little bit in Sosua as well. I saw one of the houses where it had hit, and someone's like, I was videoing an apartment for rent, and the guy said, "Don't worry, I'm gonna have all this fixed up and renovated." And I was like, "Well, what happened here?" Like it looked like someone went in and shot it up. And he was like, "The earthquake." I was like, "Earthquake? When was there an earthquake?" And he's like, 7 years ago. This was like, I guess, 2 years ago. So, I mean, I'm not laughing. It's not funny, but I'm just saying I didn't, I didn't remember. But now it's happening again, which is really sad. So if you have any Haitian friends, please send some love out to them. Thank you, Horace. And I am so happy we're okay here as well. And again, prayers going out to to Haiti. So, guys, I wanted to do a live to air on story time today. This is a long story time, a little bit of a long one. It's going to be more than 20 minutes. So, and I don't have a lot of memory on my cell phone. So if I go to edit it, then I would have to do the story time in two different parts, like I've done several occasions before. And it just doesn't kind of finish the story off. Some of you might not be able to get to part 2, or you might forget to go to part 2. Okay. Today I'm drinking coffee with nothing, sin alcohol, sin leche, sin milk, like without milk, without alcohol, and without sugar. I love black coffee. All right, story time. This story is about an original Sankey Panky. This is going to be for some of you women. Now, a lot of you men too, because this is just something that happens. All right, so we are vulnerable sometimes to people around the world, especially when it comes to relationships, but especially when we, I think, are traveling the world. We're vulnerable, especially if we don't know the language. Now, it happens sometimes where a younger man here will be interested in an older woman. And it's not because he's trying to set out to use her always. Sometimes it's only because that's his option. Maybe, especially if he's a Dominican and he has nothing to offer a woman here, and she lives here in Sosua, chances are she's not trying to go after him. She's trying to go after the tourists here for either a better lifestyle or whatever her reason is. Well, there was a woman from North America and she came to the Dominican Republic. Much like myself, she came alone. Now, when she came, she had the intentions to stay, but she did not speak any type of Spanish at all. Let's name her Julie. Okay, so Julie was an attractive woman, a little bit older, not much, like in her late 40s type of thing. And she never had any children, and she was in early retirement. The reason why she was in early retirement was because she got a windfall in dun, 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 cryptocurrency. Congratulations to all you guys investing in cryptocurrency and doing what you can do to survive here. Okay, so that's what she did. She invested in cryptocurrency by chance many, many years ago, got a lot of money out of it, and cashed it all in and came here to live. Now, she started to frequent a certain restaurant, and I'm not going to say the restaurant's name because it is here on the North Coast and here very close. I could probably, if there was no house in between, I could probably see the restaurant. So she started to frequent a restaurant. She'd go there, have a bite to eat, take her laptop, work, and just have a good time with the locals and the expats. And her intention was to be with herself, not date, but just enjoy life. And if love came to her, it just came to her. She wasn't out looking for it. Well, one of the staff in the restaurant, they started to take a liking to her. And they were like, oh, she's a pretty lady. And, does she have a boyfriend? And they started to ask a lot of questions about her. So one day they went up to her and they said to her, this guy said to her, I would really like to take you out on a date. And she was like, well, I'm not really interested, but you can come over to my place sometime and we can chill out and have a couple of drinks and we can cook dinner and get to know each other. Like, I'm just really looking for a friend right now. And she knew she could trust him to go to her place because she knew him from the restaurant. And, she thought she would like to have some company. So said, so done. He went to her place and they hung out and they had an amazing time. Like an amazing time, nothing romantic from her part. And she really enjoyed herself with him, and they laughed and they carried on. They ended up getting drunk and late in the night, and he ended up sleeping over at her place. Now, they didn't do anything, nothing intimate. He tried, and she was like, no, what are you doing? Like, you're my friend. I don't want a relationship with you. I just really want friendship. So he was actually really cool because he was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I must have misread this. I thought you let me sleep in your bed with you. You must be into something. And she's like, no, 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 no. She's like, we just happened to get, drunk together and you're laying beside me. And I thought we could just be friends like that. And he respected her space. That was it. They continued to hang around each other. They continued to become very close. When she needed a lift somewhere, he would pick her up on his motorcycle on the days that he was off work, and he would take her around the island here in the North Coast and show her all around. She would pay for everything, their dinners, their drinks, and whatever. And he really enjoyed her as well. Now, he never hung around a foreigner woman before. He's never dated a foreigner woman before. And so for him, it was very exciting, even though they were still in the friend zone. I'm going to get to what comes because they end up getting out of the friend zone, of course. But so now they're talking for maybe about 3 weeks. And she still has him in the friend zone. But he says to her, like, why are you living in a gated community and paying so much every month for rent? Why don't you move out of the gated community and pay a different price for rent, like a cheaper price for rent? And she thought that was an amazing idea because why not? She's been traveling all around here with them. She knows it's safe. She knew that, hey, she could get a nicer place than where she was, a larger place, furnished. They did that. They went and they found a place, and he moved in with her. Now, when he moved in with her, it was just so he could comfort her, right? She was moving slowly with him. At this point, she knew that maybe something was going to unfold. Now, some of you guys might be saying right now, 3 weeks, oh, that's not a very long time. Well, we're talking in Sosua time, and that is a long time, right? It's probably the equivalent of 3 months, right? Because when you think about it, You date in North America or wherever you are from around the world, and you might only see the person that you're dating around the world, and you might only see the person that you're dating once a week when you're available, once a week when you're available on weekends, right? After work or whatever you might on weekends, right? After work or whatever you might go on a date, but you're not going to spend a heck of a lot of time together if you're working and she's working. Well, this woman, she worked for herself, and this guy, the Dominican dude, he only worked, let's give him a name. I don't know. We'll call him David. So, yeah, so the two of them, like, he didn't work every single day. I'm trying not to rock this chair. He didn't work every single day, right? But even when he was working, she was still hanging around his restaurant because that's where she went to take her laptop. When he wasn't working, the two of them were together all day long. So in actuality, they were literally together for the 3 weeks straight that they were chilling. So she moved in, she let him move in with her. At this point, they were kissing. There was nothing more than that. And then eventually, her getting drunk all the time and everything, she decided that he's treating her really good and he translates everywhere for her and he does a lot of nice things for her. She thought, why don't they just start dating? So she made it official and the two of them made love. And that was okay. He was sweet to her. A couple of times he'd get rude and snap at her, but that's normal in relationships and she didn't think anything of it. So now he's working and he's working. And then one day they get home and he's quiet and he doesn't say anything. They leave the restaurant together and he doesn't say anything. He's quiet. And she's like, what's wrong? Why are you so quiet tonight? And he's like, nothing, nothing. I'll tell you another time. It's just my coworkers. She's like, well, what's wrong with your coworkers? Everything seemed good today. And he's like, oh, you don't know what goes on in the kitchen. Right? He worked in the kitchen. He told her he was the cook. She thought he was the cook because he was in the kitchen, right? Always cutting things up. But we'll get to that as well. So here he's like, I don't know, my coworkers, they're jealous. They're jealous of me dating you because you are a foreigner and you're taking very good care of me. Now, for instance, if there was somebody, like, because sometimes there are like vendors, walking vendors. You may see Haitians walking with a bucket on their head and they sell avocados and mangoes and onions and, like fruits and vegetables and nuts and stuff of that nature and beans, all that kind of stuff. And then Dominicans, you'll see them sometimes selling shoes and like products for your cell phone. So this woman was probably much like me, right? Do not catch me at a restaurant when people are going by because I'll be like, oh, can I get this? Can I get that? It's like just shopping as you're sitting. And that's me. So that's probably what she was doing as well. And she was just picking out all this stuff and she would bring it to him. And or at times she'd buy shoes for him and she would go and to the kitchen at the restaurant and she would say, see if these fit you. And he'd try them on and then she'd buy them for him if they fit him. If they didn't, she would make sure she went back to get the other size from the salesman and she would make sure that her boyfriend had a pair of shoes. And she took very good care of him. So he loved this. And so when he told her that his coworkers were jealous, she could see that. She was like, okay, I could see that. Well, I just won't buy anything for you anymore while you're working. And he was like, oh, okay. Kind of worked against him, right? But that's all right. So the next day, she decided not to go into work with him because she had a few calls to make. And so he went into work on his own. Now he came back from work, he got home, and he was angry. She's like, what's up? Like, what's going on? Work again? And he's like, yes. Now a big fight broke out in the kitchen. And she's like, oh my gosh, what happened? He's like, they're so jealous of me. They're just, they're saying, why are you allowing me to work? And she said, what do you mean, why am I allowing you to work? And he said, well, he makes $10 a day, right? A lot of the times, Dominicans here, they'll make $10 a day, like 500 pesos a day, right? And but it kind of evens out with the economy. And she didn't realize that at first when she came here, much like I didn't either. I didn't realize that it evens itself out because they're not paying $2,000 for rent. Some people are paying $100 for rent. Some people are paying like, you know, 150. Some people are paying $400 a row. You guys know, when you guys come here, you guys ask me for apartments that are inexpensive. So you got to believe that it weighs itself out. But she didn't realize that at this time because she was still fresh here, right? I just want to say to you guys, welcome to my channel. For those of you who are new, this is story time. I'm Cerise. And so anyway, this is my coffee. Really, I'm doing good too. I'm happy. Mm. So she she was like, "Well, what should we do?" And he's like, "Well, you know, people are wondering why you're going to the restaurant every day and you're there all day and you're spending more than $10 on even a meal," because she was there with him all day, right? When she was there, and she would be there from with him from 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And of course, during that time, she would buy her breakfast, her coffee. Lunchtime, she'd buy her lunch. Dinner time, she'd go home with him, right? But of course, if she's having drinks and she's socializing and stuff, obviously she's spending more than what he's making in the kitchen, right? So, you know, she was probably spending 3 times what he was making. And so it only made sense when he said to her, sorry guys, that's my other cell phone notification. Let me just turn that on mute. So she said to him, she said, I can see where that would be a problem and that your coworkers might be jealous, but, you know, don't you like working? And he's like, well, if you and I are going to be together, then why do you have me working? I can be with you. And when I drive you around on the bike, you can get everywhere. You don't have to rent a motor concho. And it's, you know, I can be with you. Now, she didn't really want that because she didn't want to have to take care of a man just like that and be like, okay, quit work. Because that's not her culture, to just be like, quit your job, let me take care of you. So she said to him, well, how much would it cost to get our own restaurant? Right? Because she knew that rent is cheaper here for apartments. It's probably cheaper to rent a restaurant or a bar as well. And he said to her, well, I don't know. And she said, leave it with me because you're a cook. Why don't we just get our own restaurant and you can have your own restaurant? And he was like, all right, all right. You'd think he would be happy. But he kind of just went with the flow. So she went around and around and around. First of all, he quit. He quit his job. Oh, no, not yet. They went around. They're looking all around town for a restaurant, a bar, just something where he can still work and, you know, stay busy, but quite possibly make a little bit of extra money for himself instead of just 500 pesos a day, right? Okay, so she found the place that was amazing. Hold on, guys. I just want to do a check-in. Can you guys hear me? Hey, guys. Hey, princess. And can you guys hear everything? Just let me know. I want to make sure. Um, so she thought, you know what? Let me take care of this. And she found a restaurant. And the restaurant was not a large restaurant. It was a small restaurant. And it had 4 tables out front that could fit 4 people at each table. And let me see here. She totally did not want to work. She totally missed that he did not want to work. Exactly. She was thinking to herself, oh, you know, these people are treating him bad at this work that he was at because of her. So she's thinking he's missing out on work now. She felt like she made his life miserable by making him feel uncomfortable at his work. So she was just like, you know what? And it was too difficult for him to go find another job. So she's like, well, why don't we just have our own restaurant? And I think that's logical too. So then, you know, she found it. She signed the lawyer papers, put everything in her name for him. Everything, did everything, put down the first and last month's rent for the restaurant, bought all the food for the startup for the restaurant, bought all the pots that he said he needed, got the fuel for the restaurant, like the propane for the stove. Here we use propane for our stoves. Some people plug in their stoves, but it's more common to use propane. And they were running. They made the menu together and everything. And then he contacted the other restaurant, and she also contacted the other restaurant, and he quit. Now, when he quit, she found out that he was not the cook, and he was just the prep cook. He cut up all the vegetables and fruits, so he was quite replaceable. And when she found that out, it was already a week into the restaurant, having the restaurant. And she thought to herself, okay, well, it is what it is. We have our restaurant. We're cool now, so who cares? And then she started to notice different little things. If she wanted to run the restaurant from breakfast until dinner, she wanted it open all day long. And he told her that he could do that, no problem. Now, he said to her, don't hire anyone yet because people may try to rip things off or they're not making enough money yet or anything. So he said, let me bring my brother in. My brother and I will work this kitchen like no problem at all. So said, so done. For probably about a week or two. No, a week. That's right. And, the brother was in there every day. And they had the momentum that it took for them to make sure that that place was running right, you know. And she was so happy and so proud. And she was sitting with her laptop outside of the restaurant every day and welcoming guests. And everything was going so fabulously well. Until one day, after, she was tired. She didn't want to be at the restaurant every morning, afternoon, and evening. She also had her own business, so she wanted to spend a day at home with her laptop and just catch up on television shows and whatever. She just wanted to have a girl day. She wanted to get her nails done as well. And so when she woke up in the morning, she rolled over and she looked at him and she said, "You know what, baby? I don't want to go to the kitchen today. I just want to stay home today. Can you just go?" And he's like, "Well, I'm not going to go without you." And she was like, "What?" Like, I'm still going to work on my computer at home. So I'm still going to get things done. I'm not just going to stay home and be lazy. And who's going to open up the kitchen? And he said, "Well, we'll just close it for the day." And she was like, "Well, that doesn't make sense." She's like, "Okay, we need to start a schedule then." Because he said to her straight up, he said, "I don't want to go to the restaurant without you." And she was like, "Oh." And she actually kind of liked that. And she's like, okay. She felt a little inseparable when it came to him too, which is very normal here in the Dominican Republic. When we get with someone, it's such an intense and passionate situation because some people are only here for 3 months. Some people are only here for 1 year. Some people are only here for 1 week, right? So it's a passionate connection. And so she felt sweet with that. She was like, oh my gosh, he doesn't want to be separated from me. Okay, I'm going to go to the kitchen with you today. And she did. Now, when they got to the kitchen, she said to him, "Look, we're going to have to come up with a schedule. Like, are we going to be a breakfast spot? Because that restaurant at one point was only for breakfast. And it was well known for that. And the owner had a heart attack. And so she, not on Pedro Croissant, not where you guys might be thinking. It's not that one. Much smaller location. For those of you who know Pedro Clisante. And for those of you who don't know Pedro Clisante, I'm just pouring some coffee. Pedro Clisante from my thermos. Pedro Clisante is one of the main roads here in El Bate, Sosua. So their restaurant was at the top of Pedro Clisante. So, she's like, "Okay, baby, let's go to the restaurant together." And they went together. And then he's like, "Well, I don't know if we should have it as a morning spot," because he was a morning starter. And she was like, "Well, maybe we'll open up at 12 o'clock for lunch. And then we'll just stay open for lunch and dinner." And he was like, "All right." And he rolled with it. And she rolled with it. And everything was amazing. A little while later, it didn't work out. It took about maybe a week, and that didn't work out. So then they just started to open up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon until 11 o'clock at night. They were making the money that they needed to keep the place open. But he started to get really lazy and she started to notice it. Now, remember, they weren't together a very long period and they only had the restaurant open for less than a month at this time. And she started to notice signs of laziness. And then someone from the other restaurant that he just came from, that she took him from, I guess. Well, it seemed like she took him from it, but he was lying to her. And oh, yeah, by the way, they didn't say that. The staff didn't say that to him. The staff never said to him, why is that woman treating you so good? Okay, so anyway, the one of the staff from that restaurant contacted the woman. What did we say her name was going to be? Julia? Contacted Julia and said, Julia, listen, like, it's none of my business, but I just want to tell you a few things. He's a liar, and just be careful. And so Julia said, did you guys say this, that, and that to him? And the woman, the worker there, said, no. Those are probably some of the lies that he's saying. Like, don't believe him. Be very careful because he will try to take everything from you. And she was like, okay, all right. And that's what I love about Dominicans too, because Dominicans are very forward. And if they think that you're dating a Sankey Panky or Chapiadora or anything of that nature, they will tell you. That's just pretty words for gigolo and gold digger, right? And they will tell you here. In Canada, they may just look at you and think it. And they'll be like, oh, he's gold digging her or whatever. She's gold digging him. And no one will even get involved. But here they will try to help you. I mean, I've had guys and girls come up to me and say, that person is using you, or trying to use you, and they just call it out. And so I appreciate that. And so that's what this woman did for Julia. Julia didn't listen, though, because she couldn't believe it. That's her boyfriend now for a little over a month, right? Or 2 months, right? And she's like, I know him better. Meanwhile, back on the ranch, that woman knew the David better because that woman grew up with David. That woman knew David's father, right? And was very close with David's father and knew the lifestyle that David lived and knew that David was not, excuse me, worthy of Julia. Now, Julia would never ever date David if they were back in North America where Julie was from. Julie would never date him at all. But because she was vulnerable here and she didn't speak the language, she didn't speak like no Spanish at all, she needed him and he was there for her. So she thought, but he was there for her to see what he could get. Now, fast forward, they're running the restaurant and, she ignores what she hears from this woman. She keeps it in the back of her mind, but she doesn't allow it to affect the connection between her and David. Now, David starts to get cop attitude every now and again. He liked to smoke a lot of Bob Marley, and he used to have Bob Marley breaks. So if he wasn't getting his Bob Marley break, he would get nasty, not only to her, but he would be short with the customers as well. Like, just mean attitude, and it would show on his face. Like, and so this concerned Julia. Julia. I'm just going to call her Julie for short. So, this concerned Julie because she was a proper businesswoman and she knew how to greet people and she knew like how to keep a business going. You take your emotions and you put them aside. You do not show a nasty face to anyone coming into your restaurant. You have to move like McDonald's does, serve with a smile. And that was her model. And so she would try to encourage him to do the same. And when she would say to him, hey, like, I understand you're moody right now. I understand that you might be moody at me. You might be moody at not having Bob Marley. You might be moody at one of your recipes not working. But guess what? Like, guests can see this. It was an open kitchen as well, so it wasn't like a closed kitchen. Guests could see it. Guests, they would like kind of look too and be like, oh, the chef isn't very happy, And he was a good cook though, right? Like, he was a good cook. So it's not like he was just a prep chef. He was a prep chef in the previous restaurant, okay? But he was a very good cook. Anyway, and so she would be embarrassed quite a lot with his attitude, like always miserable. You guys know Ice Cube back in the days, like that, always frowning. So she said to him, listen, if you can't get your emotions under control, I'm not going to run this restaurant with you any longer. Now she started to get tough with him because the honeymoon stage was over. She could see that he was not a dedicated worker. She could see that there were signs of laziness. And she could see now that when he said to her that she should pay for him to stay home, he didn't mean that he wanted to work. He meant just stay home. So she was like, okay, she has this restaurant. What is she going to do with it? She's not a kitchen woman. And then she has this man that has lied to her and said that he would run that kitchen like nobody's business. But no, yet he's arguing with his brother every day. And his brother even ended up not wanting to be around him. His brother didn't even want to be in the kitchen any longer either. So it got to the point where she said, you know what? This is too many problems. So I'm just going to give the kitchen over to you. She got the kitchen to a point. I keep saying kitchen, but that's because it was only a small outside area. But she got it to a point where it was making its own rent. So people were like really interested in her, and people were really interested in going there and eating food. They loved the place, and tutus, she gave it up. And she said to him, I can't work alongside you any longer, so you take over the restaurant and I'll put it in your name and you can have it. And he said, no. He said, no, it's too much to run. There's no other employees, and that's it. So they closed it down. After they closed it down, he started to just stay at home with her. So he pretty much got what he wanted, right? And then, they were home about 3 months later. Within about 3 months after that, she actually got used to him being at home. She didn't want him to go out and work any longer because she realized if he does go out and work, then he's only making $10 a day for like staying out all day. And she realized he was right, that she could just pay him like to stay home. So she started to buy his Bob Marley every day, but he started to smoke even more and more than what he would usually smoke before, because now he can afford more, which meant what? More moodiness, more anger, more don't talk to me type of attitude. And that's not to say anything about weed smokers. I mean, I can't say WEED because I don't want that. That YouTube doesn't like it. So Bob Marley. And so I'm not knocking Bob Marley, guys. My dad was a Rasta. And my dad knew how to hold it down, and he wasn't a grouchy person. But this person was a grouchy person. And he was hard on her. And he always made sure that he had to have his Bob Marley. He always had to have, his food, and he had to be happy. He used to make her happy as well. He'd go buy her chocolate or go do the grocery shopping because he was the one doing the cooking. So they had a good little thing going on until he couldn't keep his attitude on the low. And so she started to think, why is she even with him? And she started to think that she could do it on her own here. And she prayed on it. And she prayed to God for an answer. And God gave her the answer. She woke up one morning and she opened up her cell phone, and someone said to her on the cell phone that her boyfriend was cheating on her. Now, she doesn't know when he could be cheating because why? They're together all the time. So she looked at him and she said, David, are you cheating on me? And he said, no. And she said, okay, yeah. She knew it just sounded weird. She said, okay, well, are you cheating on me virtually? Like, are you talking to any women online? And he was like, no. And she's like, let me see your cell phone. Right? And he was like, okay, promise you won't get mad. And she was like, oh, she didn't even want to see it after that. She was like, you know what? Get out. You and your brother get up and go. Like, promise you won't get mad. Right? And so she kicked them both out. They left. And at that moment, she knew her prayers were answered. But she still loved him and cared for him. And she felt like, maybe was she moved too quickly on the button, so she said, well, maybe he wasn't cheating and he was only talking to a girl, and maybe we can prevent this. So she started to talk to him again. Now, she didn't take him back in. He went and he lived with his brother, but a different brother. But she did start talking to him again. He went back to her place and they started to get along again. And then he's like, she's like, let me see the conversation. Let me see this woman that you're talking to, please. Like, I'm just curious. And so he showed her. Like, he wasn't talking to her any longer, but he still had the conversation because it was in Facebook. And he scrolled and he showed her the conversation. And she was like, this girl is like 14 years old, you know? Like, what are you doing with this girl? The girl's young. And he's like, oh, I was just trying to show her, I was just trying to tell her about you. And she's like, why would you talk to this woman about this young girl about me? And he said, well, I just wanted her to know that I have a really good wife. And she could just tell he's lying again. And she couldn't love him the same way any longer. She just couldn't embrace him any longer the way that she once did. She couldn't trust him. He lied about work, about the job he was at. He lied about being able to run the restaurant. He lied about so much. And even when he needed to get his bike fixed, she would fix it. And he would complain to her all the time that she wasn't buying enough Bob Marley. And he would say to her, you made me quit my job, and now you have to take care of me. And she's like, I don't need to take care of you. And he's like, well, you know how many gringas are out there taking care of their men? I'm not asking you for a brand new motorcycle. I'm not asking you for a car. I'm just asking you for a little bit more Bob Marley a day. And she was like, wow, okay. Well, she started to feel like this was a spoiled child, like somebody who didn't grasp the concept that they're supposed to build together, So she felt stuck. And she felt like, okay, well, he wasn't asking for much. It's not like she had to give him, $50 a day. It was just a little bit more. Bob Marley. Bob Marley is not very expensive here. It's like $2 for a sack, I guess. I don't know what you guys would call it. Back in the day in Canada, we called it a dime bag back in the day in Canada. So I don't know what they call it now, gram or whatever. I really don't know. But in any case, that's what was going on. And she wasn't spending much. But by the end of the day, food, drinks, and the Bob Marley, and the snacks, and the treats, and then everything else she was paying for, and he was paying for absolutely nothing, just enjoying his day every day like he was the king. She actually, she became bored of him. And not only that, he always had attitude. They would be driving, and she was a happy young lady, and they'd be driving on the bike, and she would say, oh my gosh, what's that store right there? And she would point to a store, and he'd be like, nothing, right? And she'd be like, well, can we stop and just look at the store? And he'd be like, no, we're going home. Because he would want to go home and smoke. And she'd be like, well, I just want to stop for a minute. And then, she would like literally put her foot down from the moto, right? Because it was a shorter moto. And she'd just drag her foot along and be like, stop the bike now. I am going to go in and check that store. She'd go into the store. He'd go in with her. And of course, he'd be the first one picking out stuff for himself. Right? With attitude. And she couldn't handle it any longer. It was too heavy on her emotions. He was negative. He lied already. He virtually cheated on her. And not only that, he was always talking to, women on Facebook. So, she went back home with them at that point, and she was like, I can't do this any longer. I really cannot do this with you any longer. And he was like, okay, just give me one more chance. And silly woman, like all us silly women that give men a second chance, or like silly men that give women second chances, she said to him, well, we need to make a plan for a relationship. You need to change. Cut down on your Bob or cut down on your attitude. Maybe we can make this work. And so they tried, and they moved out of the apartment she was in, and they moved in a different apartment together for a fresh start. Everything was okay for a few weeks. Everything was wonderful, and he realized that he was living with her again and that he had the opportunity to be treated like a king again. And he was willing to kind of shut his mouth and hold it down. But he couldn't because of his addiction, right? He couldn't because he would still get mean and moody and horrible with her. And she just didn't like that. So now what happened was she decided to break up with him completely. And she did. That was it. Well, one night he got really drunk and he banged on her door so loud. And she was living in like a gated building at the time, small little area, and she didn't want any of the other guests or tenants or anything to hear the banging on the door. And he was banging on the door and he's like, let me in. So she let him in. And she said, okay, please be quiet. She knew he was drunk. And she said, okay, please be quiet. And he said, who's here? And he started to walk around the place and he was all jealous and he's looking in closets. He's looking in the spare room. And she's like, nobody, just come to bed and be quiet. Now, she still did love him. She still had emotions for him, even though he was a guy that she wouldn't even date again back where she came from. But, she kind of got caught up in those few months. And so she said, just come to bed, please. Just lay down. So he grabbed her cell phone. When he grabbed her cell phone, he knew the code to her cell phone because that's the type of the relationship they had. She didn't know the code to his cell phone at all. She didn't even care, right? But he knew the code to her cell phone. And he opened up her cell phone and he looked in her cell phone and he saw a conversation with a man that was not romantic conversation, but just not a professional conversation. He noticed that in the conversation, she was like, okay, good night. And the guy said, good night, talk to you tomorrow. So what did David do? David called this man on WhatsApp video chat. And the man, of course, thought it was Julie calling him 2 o'clock in the morning. So the man answers the phone. When the man answers the phone, David recognized the man's face. And David said, why is my wife talking to you? And the guy looked at David and said, I don't know who your wife is. And he said, this is my wife's phone. And now the guy knew, okay, he knew that David and Julie used to be together, but he played dumb. And so he just turned his phone off. He turned his phone off and that was it. David couldn't get a hold of the guy again. So David took the cell phone and smashed it. Smashed her business cell phone. And didn't even say sorry. And then he pulled her by her hair and smacked her head up against the wall. By the way, I want to give you guys a little, if this type of topic bothers you or anything like that, this is just a warning. You should exit out now and come back to another story time that doesn't have this type of behavior in it, especially if your kids are listening. So yeah, he smacks her head up against the wall and he starts really hurting her, accusing her of sleeping with another man, and she wasn't. And so she escaped somehow. She escaped. She left the room. She wasn't sure if he was seriously beating her or not. She was like, is he seriously beating me? Or like, is this going to stop in a minute? And it didn't stop. He just kept going on and on. And then at one point, she tried to go to sleep, right? After he pulled her by her hair and everything, because she was too afraid to call the police. She felt like she was here illegally, past her visa. And she didn't realize that she had help. If any of you ladies are going through this or any of you men are going through this and you're afraid to call the police because you are here past your visa, don't worry about that. Contact me. I have a number for a police officer that will show up and I will tell the police officer that you're a little worried about your residencia or whatever. They don't even look at that here. Okay? They just want to make sure you're safe. And so in any case, she was afraid to call the police. So instead she escaped the apartment barefooted and ran downstairs to her neighbor, who was an old man. And she banged on the door, and he couldn't even hardly hear. But he went to the door, and imagine an old man, like, well, I'm saying old man, but he was a frail and fragile older man, way into his late 70s. So for him to be waking up like that, banging on the door, that could have given him a heart attack. But she had to save her life. So he answered the door. And just as he answered the door, the guy, David, started to go downstairs, and he saw that the old man answered the door, and he said to the old man, "Don't get involved. Don't get involved." And the old man said, "Oh, I'm going to get involved." And he said to Julie, he said, "I've been waiting for you to come in. I've been waiting for this to happen. I'm not surprised." And he closed the door, and he said, "I'm going to call the police for you right now." Julie said, "No, please don't call the police. Please." And then he said, "Why not? That guy needs to go to jail." And Julie's like, no. Julie's hair was all messed up. You could see on her face where she was hit, because her face was red, not bruised, but red. And this old man, older gentleman, elderly man, he was worried for Julie. And Julie said, "No, please, please, just don't, not right now." And that was it. She went out the next day. I mean, she went up, like, he left, David left. She went back up to her apartment, and she locked the door, and that was it. The next day, David showed up at the apartment again, and he's like, I'm sorry, and all this stuff, and she didn't take him back. Kudos to her, right? So then they did still, though, hang out with each other quite a lot. People knew all around here, everyone knew that they were going through this breakup, getting back together, because it's a small place here, Sosua. And we see when people are broken up, or we hear when someone's broken up, and we hear when they get back together and all that. And it's just a part of life. But people were looking at her more like, do you not know your worth? Like, this guy isn't even, like, sexy. He had nothing to, when I say sexy, like, what I mean is he's like 10 years younger than her, and she looked better than him, right? It's just that she was vulnerable to him, right? And he didn't even appreciate her completely. So, just fast forward a little bit, and they ended up just being friends, hanging out a lot, not intimate, but going out, and he was there for her every now and again when she needed him. Well, she ended up talking more and more to that other guy. Remember the one that he smashed the cell phone down? And so David found out that she was talking to the other guy. So David threatened the other guy and said, "You cannot talk to my wife, otherwise I will you." And the other guy wasn't afraid. The other guy's like, "Come." And Julie said to the other guy, let's call the other guy Frank. Julie said to Frank, "Listen, I don't want you getting hurt. I'm afraid for you." Frank said, "Don't worry about it. I've been here," because Frank is not Dominican. Frank is American. Frank said, "I've been here in the Dominican Republic for years now, and I know people that will go to his door. So don't worry about it. I'm good. You're good. We're good together. We'll be okay." But she was worried, and she kept going back to this guy just because. Also, Frank was not the best of anything either. Frank was more an elbow, person, always drinking as well. And he was just boring. And he was nice looking and, stuff like that. But he was just boring and kind of mean too. Didn't ever reach out to her and make her feel loved. She always had to do the reaching out first and everything like that. So she was kind of stuck between two men that neither one was worthy of her. And so, again, fast forward a little bit. And this guy, now we'll call David her ex. Her ex and David, her and David are hanging out and they're sharing time. David starts stealing from her. Like literally stealing from her. Like 500 pesos, 1,000 pesos. 500 pesos is $10. 1,000 pesos is $20. Even 100 pesos. Any change he could get, he would take from her. She had to start hiding her money when he was around. She had to hide it like in her drawers. She had to hide it under her bed. She had to hide it in her panty drawer, like all over, just to keep her money away from him. And he knew she was hiding it because he would say to her, "You're hiding your money again," but she still was friends with him. She still gave him the benefit of the doubt that maybe there's something good in him, you know, until once again, he was at her place and he slept over. He told her that he was too drunk to drive home to Cabarete. So she said to him, okay, well, you can stay at my place in the spare room. He stayed in her spare room one night, and he was just rude, he was mean, he was taking her stuff, he was nasty. He would smoke his Bob Marley and just put his ashes on the ground, not even in an ashtray. And I don't mean ground, I mean on the floor in the living room. Okay, so he would like smoke and just put his ashes on the floor in the living room, not in an ashtray. And so she would say to him, can you not do that? And he would say, oh, not do what? And she'd be like, can you not put your ashes out on the floor? Like, are you a beast or are you a human being? And he'd be like, oh, your mouth is always running off, blah, 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 blah. And so when she would get drunk, she would cuss him out and she would put him in his place. And she would say, where's my money? And she would get traumatized because she would be like, he's ripping her off again. Like 500 pesos would go missing, and she'd be like, where's my 500 pesos? And he would be like, okay, well, we bought this, we bought that. And she'd be like, oh, okay. And get mad because she was saying that he was stealing from her. But I mean, who else would be stealing it, right? And he's the one that set that up for her to believe that he was always stealing from her. So now fast forward a little bit more, and she just decides that enough is enough. Like, now he's blaming her for having no job. Now he's blaming her for having no home. Now he's blaming her for having no money. And all because he did not know how to hold it down with her properly. Okay, she was not the problem, but he had everyone else thinking she was the problem because, whatever, like it just seemed like, he seemed like he would complain a lot. She introduced him to a lot of people, a lot of foreigners. She introduced him to a lot of foreigners, and these foreigners started to take care of him as well. So she knew now at this point that he was taken care of, right? Because these foreigners were using his services. Well, he would call her up and say, oh, so-and-so is using me. They only gave me 1,000 pesos for this, or they're not paying me for my time properly. And she would say, well, it's better than nothing. She would like try to talk to him and still be his friend. Well, one day she was going down the street, and I guess he was feeling desperate at that moment. He didn't have any money or anything like that. And he told her, get on my bike, because he was going down the street on his bike and he saw her. And he said, get on my bike. And she said, no, I'm not going to get on your bike. For what? And she didn't want to be driven off into the distance with someone, and she didn't know where he was going to go, right? And she wouldn't listen to him. And he grabbed her and pulled her on his bike, but from the exhaust side. And she burned her leg so badly, it got infected. But he didn't care. He didn't care at all. And he didn't even try to rub cream on it for her at all. She didn't end up getting on his bike anyway. He pulled her to the bike and she burned her leg on the exhaust. She started to scream out loud, and there were people on the street, but they didn't want to get involved, right? And then so she pulled over the police. The police started to come. She pulled over the police, but it was not the police. She thought it was, but it was like people, roadside assistance, right? When their car accidents happen, they're called MOPC. And they couldn't do anything. And they said to her, okay, hold on, we're going to call the police, the national police. And so then he took off. That was it. Another day, he was, he felt like there was something up. So she was at home. It was early in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and she was with another man. And this other man was that dude that he video called, remember? So when he showed up, this was a new place she's living in now. Now, when he showed up, he's yelling over the fence and he's screaming and he's hollering and he's like, open the fence, Julie. I know you're in there with another man. Now, these two have been broken up. Now, this is fast forward. This is probably almost, well, she was at this point here for a year. Okay, so they were broken up for a good 6 months at that time. So she was going through this back and forth stuff with him. She couldn't even move on in her life with another relationship because he would not let her. And then also her heart wouldn't let her because she still loved him. And it was just horrible for her. And for him, I would imagine it was horrible too because he lost a really good woman, right? And he lost a foreigner that was taking care of him. And all he had to do was be quiet. All he had to do was be thankful. All he had to do was show gratitude. Kiss her a little bit. Hold her hand a lot. You know, make love to her the way she would like to be made love. Not be selfish in the bed. You know, when they made love, it was always about him. She had to do all the work. And she thought to herself, this isn't even a man that she would date back in her own country. And he's not even giving her anything, not even in the bedroom, right? So then she decides that she doesn't want to have anything to do with him at all. And that's, I guess, when he went crazy that day and early in the morning, and she had to call the police. The police showed up and they told him to go away. Well, he did go away and the police left as well, but then he re-showed up again. Like he went back to the house and he started to throw bricks and rocks all over trying to break windows. Now, he didn't even care that this is a house that she was renting. And here he is trying to bash up the house instead of taking individual responsibility for his actions. Instead of taking responsibility for the reason that they're not together is for his, lack of manliness, lack of consideration. He just wanted to get her into more problems. And so anyway, he didn't smash anything. She told that guy to stay with her until the early afternoon, and the guy did stay until the early afternoon until it was safe for the guy to leave, and she cut that guy off immediately. Okay, like the second guy, she cut him off immediately. She didn't want to get him in trouble. So for 6 months she didn't talk to that guy. And for 3 months she didn't talk to that guy. But that also left her vulnerable again. So she started to talk to David again a few weeks later. She was a little lonely. She was a little sad. She was going through her hormonal menstrual cycle. And so she contacted him to see how he was doing. And he happened to be around the corner from her house. So she said, well, why don't you come on by? And they ended up not being intimate, but reconnecting. Now, she wasn't sleeping with him at all. She refused to because she also didn't want to what's the word? Lead him on. But they still had a certain connection. They really got along. When they were getting along, they got along. When they weren't, it was horrible. He was so mean, very, very mean. And she found herself crying all the time. So now, fast forward, she ends up leaving him. And like that night, she told him he had to go home. He went home. And then another day he went over and she asked him to go to the store for her. She was in the house. She was tired. She wanted him to cook for her, and she wanted him to, just kind of do some favors for her because she didn't want to go out. And he was really good at cooking and cleaning and helping her out that way. So he said, okay, well, I'm going to come and I'm going to, get the money and I'm going to go buy the food at the grocery store. And, I'll cook for you today. How much are you going to pay me? And she told him she'll give him 1,000 pesos. And I see some messages coming in here. And so that was about it. By the way, guys, thank you so much for signing in. Make sure you hit that like button. I'm going to get to you guys in a second. And I'm going to look at all these messages. I feel bad for Julie. I feel bad for Julie. So in any case, now what happened was, maybe I should turn a light on. It's getting kind of dark. So what happened was Julie decides that, oh no, he goes and he takes the money. He goes and he picks up the money at Julie's place. Now she's just, thinking he's going to pick up the money and he's going to go get the groceries like he normally would and then go back and cook. She thought she could trust him, even though he was always stealing from her every chance he got. Well, guess what he did? She gave him 2,000 pesos and he took that 2,000 pesos. Then he turns around and he messages her on WhatsApp and he says, yeah, I'm not going back with your money because I know that you were sleeping with someone else. That's none of his business. But, obviously, She felt bad and she was like, well, why don't you bring me my money back? Let me see if I can turn on a flash here somewhere, guys. I don't even know how to turn a flash on. Maybe a flashlight? No. In any case, that's all right. We'll just deal with this. It's not too dark, right? Is it too dark? Let me see. Okay, never mind. Let's not get all involved in that. Oh, wait. No, we're good. Okay, so then, give me a second. I'm doing something here that I just need to not do. I'm just going to leave that alone. So then he says, I'm not going back to your apartment. You're sleeping with someone else. That's none of his business. You know what I mean? Like, he should have just went and did what he said he was going to do. But instead of, getting his 1,000 pesos, he took her 2,000 pesos. And she cried. She was sad. She was upset. She felt foolish. She felt stupid that she trusted him once again. And yet, once again, he let her down, and this was just going on and on. So she stopped talking to him for about a month, maybe 2 months. And then the world started to act up, right? And she was all alone. And so she asked him to come over one day. And he did. And they had a good night together. She forgave him for taking the 2,000 pesos. She knew that he, was being foolish. And so she let it ride. She let it slide. It was like a drop in the bucket to her. And so then he said to her, can you pay my rent? Because now he has his own place. And so she paid his rent for him after that night of chilling and hanging out, because she knew the world was down and out and he was not working. And so she gave him $60 to pay his rent. And he paid his rent, and the two of them started to get close again. And then she started to think, you know what? Maybe the two of us can be together. Maybe the two of us can really love each other and try to make things work. And hold on one second, guys. I have something on this channel here. Like, I have something in front of me. I don't know what this is. Oh, it's gone. Okay, good. I'm going to take this moment to turn a light on over there, okay? Please be patient with me. I think that's a little bit better. That's a little better. Now I can see a little bit too. Okay, so, they started to get along again. And she's like, you know what? Maybe I was wrong about him. Maybe I was just impatient with him. Maybe I didn't know enough about the culture yet. Maybe. That wasn't it. Because there are some good Dominican men here, and he just wasn't good for her. He's not a bad guy, I guess, but he just was not a good boyfriend for her. And so she wasn't cluing into that at all. She was telling everyone by this point what she was going through, and she wasn't holding any secrets down. Everyone knew, but no one felt sorry for her any longer, because they're like, well, why don't you just stop messing with him? Why don't you just stop dealing with him? Like, he's using you. Clearly he's cheated. Clearly he's lied. And like, what do you want? And then so, no one felt sorry for her, and she realized that she was being foolish. And then she just kind of let things slide. Recently, they reconnected. Recently, like this long after. And the reason why she reconnected with him was because she could see that he was more settled now. She was like, okay, he's cooking again, and he seems like a really cool dude now. He's taking better care of himself, and he seems to be calm and cool, relaxed. So she invited him over to her place. They spent some time together. They spent the night together, and they ended up making love for the first time in over a year and a half. So she thought, oh my gosh, we're going to get really, really close now. And, maybe we can make this thing work. She did not need that any longer, but she clearly was just going through some type of a vulnerable moment. And then he said to her, oh, yeah, because she said, why don't you move in with me and why don't we try to start this all over again? Like this will be do or die, right? Like, let's just do it the way we did when we first met and see what we can do. And he was like, oh, all right. He's like, because where he was living at that moment, he didn't like it. He's living with an older man, and the older man was always knocking on his bedroom door. The older man is a gringo, an American, always knocking on his bedroom door, always asking him for help, always asking him for like suggestions. And so this David ended up being it ended up being so much more for that older American man than what he was for the woman that actually cared for him, Julie, right? And he talked so badly about Julie to all of the expats that she introduced him to. All of the expats didn't even understand the depth of what was going on. So they ended up, liking David a lot more, thinking that David was the one that was the unfortunate one because he's Dominican and he doesn't have it as good. So a lot of the foreigners that were involved in the circle, they liked Julie, but they felt sorry for David. And so Julie just went on about her business. She didn't allow it to bother her too much because they were not a big circle of friends for her anyway. Like, she just was not interested in always chilling with them anyway. She had a whole bunch of her own friends. And, in any case, when he and her chilled and they finally did make love, all he could do was complain about the old man. And then he looked at Julie and he said, Julie, have you bought any land yet here? And she did. She told him she did too. And he's like, oh, and are you saving money? And of course she was, right? Because she didn't have any children and like she was living alone and she was saving money here, working online. She was retired, but she was always doing some job anyway, like always working anyway, like freelancing working and everything. And so, and I guess it had to do with cryptocurrency as well. And so, she said, yeah, like, of course I'm saving money. And yeah, of course I bought something here. And I'm not building on that land yet. I'm just letting it mature. If I get an opportunity to sell it off, I don't know. We'll have to see. And he said, do you want me to come back? You want us to be together? And she was like, yes. And she was crying. She said, like, I missed you. I missed what we had. When we were good, we were good. But please, like, you got to stop with your attitude. You have to stop with all this horrible stuff. And he was like, okay, how much are you going to pay me a day? Duh. Oh my gosh. She's like, what? And he's like, how much are you going to pay me a day? Like, because if you want me here with you, you're going to have to pay me. And you know what she said? I'll give you $10 a day. That's what she said. Julie, her heart is pure. She just really wanted him to be back there. And she finally understood that, if she wanted him back the way she had it before with him, then she would have to give him a little something because that was just his nature. And so she said, well, I'll pay you $10 a day. I'll give you 500 pesos a day. And he was like, okay, because at this point she was paying more than that on a motor concho every day anyway. Right. So she's like, okay, well, yeah. And why pay money on a motor concho? Motor concho is a taxi, motorcycle taxi. Why pay more on that when you can give the money to your boyfriend and let him go and buy his own Bob Marley and let him, cook and clean and you guys have that beautiful relationship. Right. Well, she said, okay, all right. And once he left that morning, she felt so dirty. She felt so unclean. She felt so used. And she felt like she should not even have had made love to him because it was no good again. It was all about him, like wanting to just be pleased. And she had enough. And even though she still cared for him, even though she still wanted him to be there, she decided that he is unworthy of her And she finally recognized her worth. So recently, just recently, she finally said to God, thank you. Thank you for this unanswered prayer. And that guy now, he's down and out. He doesn't have anything. He's still at that same place with the American, and the American doesn't even know that he can't stand him. David can't even stand him. And when David was here in Sosua, hanging out with all his friends, because he goes back and forth from Cabarete to Sosua. When David was here in Sosua hanging out with all his friends and everything, he was talking so badly about that American man behind his back, right? And Julie heard. Julie overheard everything. And Julie's like, but wait, this man took you into his home, helped you with your cooking. You have air conditioner now. You don't have to pay any rent. And you're putting this man down? Whoa, Julie thought to herself, she did so much more for him. So she wondered, how badly did he speak about her behind her back? And at that moment, she woke up. She just had a wake up call. She was just like, this man does not appreciate anything. This man is a beast. This man is an animal. This man is selfish. And he does not deserve her. And that was it. He, she wanted to be cordial to him. So when he messaged her, she said hi, back and forth. She was kind, and she didn't want to block him again. She didn't feel it was necessary. She didn't want to get into all that negativity with him. She just wanted to be friends finally and just let it go. She could see he was not good for her, and she could see she was not choosing very well. And she could also see that she had a lot more options than him, way better options that she wasn't collecting on because maybe she didn't love herself enough. And I know that feeling too, like I think a lot of us know that feeling. We settle for someone less than us because we may not be loving ourselves as much at that time. And, so finally she said, hey, he is not worthy. And he blocked her. So now they're not talking, and she's learned her lesson. And she knows now that he lied. He was not the chef at that restaurant. He was the prep chef. She knows he lied, that no employees were fighting with him. He was actually fighting with the employees and making life miserable at that restaurant. Miserable at that restaurant. The owner couldn't even believe it. The owner tried, right? Because I even said to the owner, I was like, hey, what's going on in the kitchen? Like, my boyfriend is not happy. The owner was a friend of mine, is a friend of mine still. And the owner was like, what? I don't know what's going on. Right. And, I even, like, at this time, I even was speaking on behalf of Julie. Like, oh, is that a flying cockroach? Like, I even spoke to the owner and everything, right? Julie spoke to the owner. The owner was just like, listen, I don't know what's going on in the kitchen, but that just seems like a lie. And the owner tried to help out. And no, it's not a cockroach. The owner tried to help out, but the owner couldn't do anything because there was nothing to help. The problem was all with David. So Julie found out that David was lying about that. Julie found out that David was actually speaking to a lot of other women. And Julie also found out that he got back together with his ex while he was with Julie. So there was so much that he did. And that is what we call here Sankey Panky, a real Sankey Panky. So you would never look at him and think he's a Sankey Panky. Anything that he has on, his jewelry, she bought. A bag that he has, like a little bag, she bought. Everything she bought. He always wants to buy. He always, when he wants something, he contacts her for Jordans or whatever. She's smart enough not to buy him $200 Jordans, and but she ordered a few things for him on Amazon to let him feel good, to make him feel good, and it made her feel good to give him these gifts as well. Like, it made her feel amazing to give him some packages that were coming here from Amazon. Like, wouldn't that be good? It's like Christmas, right? I think anybody would love that. I would love that. I order packages for myself all the time online. And I love when my packages come in. It always feels like Christmas. Actually, I have a package coming in the next couple of days. A Toronto phone number, a SIM card for a Toronto phone number. Mm. I had to get a Toronto phone number because I want to start a new channel. In any case, with a new phone number. I'll tell you guys about that in a minute. But that is the moral of the story. And so now they're not talking. He could have had a really good, wonderful friend in Julie, a wonderful wife in Julie, a wonderful person in Julie, but he didn't know how to hold it down. He doesn't have very much of an education, but he is an intelligent guy. He doesn't have, you know, what it takes to get him to America or Canada, right? Any of his friends here, they want to live here. Any of his gringo friends, foreigner friends, they're not going to take him to North America to live there. They all want to live here. But he's trying his hardest to get what he can get. And it's sad. I actually want to say to you guys, you know, pray for him. Pray for him. He needs prayer because he doesn't understand what gratitude is. And he doesn't, and it's very different. He's very different from what other people are that Julie has met, that I have met. You know, I mean, there's a lot of Dominicans out there that are so grateful for everything, but he is a little bit of a different one. And so I just want to say, if you're coming down here, ladies, and you're looking to get with a younger man, make sure that, you know, he if he doesn't work and you're taking care of him because it makes logical sense to you to just take care of his needs for the day. If he's working 8 hours for $10, you might be like, no, quit your job. Even you guys do it all the time as well. When a woman is a waitress and she's working for like 300, 400 pesos, but she's working for tips only. A lot of you guys are like, well, how much did you make today? And she'll say $20. And you guys will be like, quit your job. I'll give you $20 a day. You guys do it freely and openly, right? But the women appreciate it, and the women cook for the men, and they clean for the men, and they love the men. They're always with the man. They appreciate the man like the king that he is, and that's why a lot of you men come down here to be treated so beautifully and wonderfully like that. I get it, but he didn't have that, you know, that common sense that he had it good with her and that she actually loved him. And so he got himself in that funk. And now with you ladies coming here, just be careful. You know, if you do want to make sure the man is with you all the time and it feels good and you're loving him and he's loving you, then I mean, don't take blows and beatings and rude behavior. Leave him. Like, you know, leave the man. Don't be a fool for love, because that's not love. You know, I know love is patient, love is kind, love is understanding, but then you also have like one-sided love, you know, and that one-sided love is very obvious that you are not being loved. You are being loathed undercover. So always watch your back, in any part of the world, with any gold digger, with any, you know, gold digger or gigolo, anywhere around the world. Be careful. I'm not talking about only here, because in Canada there are some women that are gold diggers way more than any chapeadora here. Okay, chapeadoras may want a couple of bucks for their hair, for their nails. They're very young ladies here, and of course they may not be able to pay for themselves, so they may say to you that their mother's sick and their mother's not really sick, but they're just young girls, right? And so they want to get their nails done, their hair done, and get nice high heels and clothing and stuff like that. So that's kind of normal. If they have to ask you for $40 or whatever to go get their hair done, or $20 to go get their hair done, and you can't afford that, then maybe you need to go back to America or Canada and save some money, because or get reminded that those women want you to be driving Mercedes Benz, BMWs, and have 5-bedroom home on a hill and stacked bank account with Benjamins. Maybe you need to remember that. instead of just being here and complaining about a woman asking for 40 bucks, right? Or $100 or whatever. And 100 is a lot, I know, like to just hand to someone 5,000 pesos. But, and especially if you're doing it all the time, I understand that. So I'm not saying do that. But what I'm saying is, if she's treating you good and, the bedroom is great, the kitchen is awesome. You don't have to lift a finger to clean. The floors smell good. You can smell Fabuloso and Misteline everywhere. Fabuloso is like, smells so good. I love it. It's cleaning product here. Then don't complain. Don't complain that you got to get her hair done and her nails did and stuff like that, okay? And don't complain that, okay, she's has everything she should need. Why does she want more? Right? Maybe take her out for dinner every now and again and treat her special, especially if she's kicking in her share. Now, if she's not kicking in her share and she's going out or he's going out all the time with his friends and taking the money that you're giving her to buy food or him to buy food and he's taking it or she's taking it, and then no. No, 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 no. You got to put your foot down and maybe look for someone else. There's so many other options here. So I just want to say, don't be used. Don't be cheated on. Don't be lied to, and allow it to continue and continue and continue, because you know what? It's your dignity and it's your state of mind that will be affected, not his or hers at all. She will just go on to the next one, and so will he, because that is their survival. That is what they're doing anywhere around the world. I want to make it clear that I'm not just talking about here on this island. I'm talking about anywhere around the world. If somebody has that type of character, then they will go on to the next person and the next person. And even if they're not using someone that they're making love to, they'll use their friend. They're called leeches. Okay? Leeches. That's what they're called. And that's what they'll continue to do to everyone. And then they will talk badly about you, badly about the next person. They will lie to you and tell you how that person's treating them bad so you can take them on. Narcissists, like very, very much a narcissist. And if you are a person that's an empath, a person that has a kind heart, a person that has been hurt before, and you understand that other person's heart, then just be careful, please. Don't be a Julie. Do not, because now Julie feels like when it comes to him, she has absolutely no dignity. And the friends, they don't know the truth. They don't know the truth. All he talks about is bad about her. And he seems like he's innocent because, of course, he is that wolf in sheep's clothing. He's quiet at his new place. He's obedient. He is attentive. He laughs a lot, that kind of sneaky person. And then as soon as he can get behind the other person's back, he talks so badly about them. Don't be friends with people like that. And also don't be in anyone's bed like that. Julie learned her lesson and she feels good now that God has blessed her with his ignorance. So let me look at these messages now, guys. Okay, Neil Dyson. Oh, that's a really nice name. Dyson. I like that last name. She totally, okay, let's start from where Horace says, she totally missed that he did not want to work. That's right. And then Neil Dyson says, hi there. Hi. Deborah says, hello. Hello, Deborah. Bilma. Hi, Cerise. Love your story time. Thank you so much for watching. Horace, laugh out loud. Bob Marley. That's great. Juan. Oh no, I'm late. Don't worry, Juan. This goes out especially to you. You're the one that got me on it. You're like, it's story time, Cerise. And then Jeannie or Jean says, another ungrateful 20. Well, there's not just, Dominicans are not just ungrateful, right? Ungrateful men. Another ungrateful man. She got a man a $20,000 Audi and he wasn't happy. This is someone who never even had a bike, let alone a car. Well, you got him a $20,000 car. Like, girl, I'm, you and I need to have some conversations on Playa Sosua when you're here, because I wouldn't buy a man a $20,000 car. You know what you can do with that 20,000? You probably know now. Cryptocurrency, I don't know, man. A land here. You can buy a condo somewhere out in the countryside. Oh, I'm not laughing at you. You must have been in love. You must have been in love. And him, he must have had his head in the dirt for him not to appreciate that. You know, there's someone that told me a long time before, when you give someone something that don't appreciate it, they didn't do anything to appreciate it, they're not going to, I mean, they didn't do anything to earn it, they're not going to appreciate it, right? They didn't do anything to earn it. So they don't understand the hard work that goes behind something like a $20,000 Audi. You know what I'm saying? Holy mackerel. That that must have been like almost like a what, a 2-year-old car? Can't believe that. Sorry to hear that. Edwin. Hey, Edwin. Hi, Cerise. How's your day? My day went good, Edwin. Really well. Thank you. Bilma. Feel bad for Julie. So do I. Jackie. Hi, beautiful soul. Hi, Jackie. Diane Rosa. That's not a man. He's a boy. You got that, girl. Everything happens for us, not to us. Ooh, Diane Rosa. I love that. Let me read it again for those of you that need to hear it. Everything happens for us, not to us. So, in other words, things happen for a reason. They teach us no matter what. And Julie will benefit from this lesson, and he will hopefully learn. Yes, sorry, and will hopefully learn. He will hopefully learn, and we will say a prayer for him, but mostly Julie. Thank you. And Jean says, or Jeannie says, there's a lot of users and ungrateful ones too, all around the world. Absolutely. Jackie, love has to be joint venture. Absolutely. Neil Dyson, thank you for the storytelling. You're welcome. Jeannie, or I keep saying Jeannie. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, please forgive me. It's just that I have a client spelled the same way and her name's Jeannie. She says Jeannie. Start being honest, Cerise. 9 out of 10 of them there are users, man or women. Jeannie, start being honest. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something right now. Okay? I am an honest person, number one. So don't try to dictate to me how I'm supposed to speak or how I'm supposed to express my experience here. Now, if you have been taken advantage of 9 out of 10 times here, then that's your nature, your character, and it probably happens to you all around the world. And if it doesn't, and it only happens here, then you are attracting that yourself. Okay? Let me just tell you that. Don't tell me to be honest. You don't need to dictate to me how I need to behave. I'm a full grown woman and I'm very honest. Actually, I'm so honest, I wear my heart on my sleeve. And that's another reason why I attract good people. Okay, I live right here in Los Charamicos. No one uses me. On my right hand side, there are Dominicans, and the whole building is filled with Dominicans and Haitians. On my left hand side is a Haitian building, and no one asks me for anything. There was a earthquake in Haiti yesterday morning, and I have a whole entire building full of Haitians next to me, and not one of them asked me for anything. Of course, it wasn't hit here, but you would think that maybe they would want something, so all of them to get together and maybe have some type of a, I don't know, some type of a gathering and maybe mourn the ones that were hurt in their country. But no, no one asked me for anything. I actually had to offer. Okay, so I don't know who you're dealing with here or the rest of you guys that are getting taking advantage like that, but it happens. Yes, but not 9 times out of 10, unless you are up to something and you're with some people that are uneducated and unmotivated and doing absolutely nothing with their lives. I don't know what Dominicans you're hanging with. Please. And just come off my live to air, because if you've been around the world, you don't you and you say this, I will save my breath. Yeah, Even your name says Monkey Life. I don't know. Maybe you just been around too many jungle gyms and playing around with life too much. But I'm not going to say anything else. Rohawk, Cerise, love story time. Thank you, sweetheart. Mayor Sosua, you looking gorgeous. Thank you, Mayor. I stopped drinking 3 days ago. 4 days now. I think it's 4 days. I haven't drank since Saturday. What's the date today? Saturday. Maybe Friday I haven't drank since. Yeah, Friday I didn't drink. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 3 days only? Friday, no, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days. I'm not keeping count anyway. I'm going to AA tomorrow if you want to join me. Mayor Sosua. Diane Rowe, yes, law of attraction, absolutely. Jackie, if people feel that everyone is dishonest, how true is it that she attracts bad? Cerise, you are a good, honest soul. Head high, head up high. I know, and I would never buy someone a $20,000 car. Jeannie, whatever your name is, why are you even spending $20,000 on someone on an Audi here? No one buys Audis here. What are you talking about? I don't even think I've ever seen an Audi here. Right? But in any case, that's on you, girl. Diane Rosa says, yes, preach. Thank you. Jackie, save your breath. I'm going to now. Stephen Smart, love the live story concept. Thank you, Stephen. Shouts out to you, sweetheart. Mayor, are you really? Email me. We are trying to send money over there. Are you serious, Mayor? Aw. Oh, that's great. Where are you going to send the money to, Mayor? Shout out right here and let people know as well. I have a few Haitians right over here beside me. And, I mean, people are really suffering right now around the world. So I think we just need to say prayers and love for a lot of the people here because I don't know. I had a lot of my Canadian friends contact me, and a lot of my American friends contact me and ask me if I'm okay as well because it's on the same island, right? And I just think that we are all so fortunate. I was thinking to myself the other day, oh my gosh, imagine if there was an earthquake, you know? Um, I definitely, I definitely know that I would be that person that would throw on my runners. I don't wear running shoes, but I have running shoes. And I am going to start wearing them since I'm going to be working out and losing weight. Side note. But I am one of those people that would put on my runners, my sneakers, and get out in the streets and try to lift rock and rubble and take children in my arms and, contact all my family and friends all around the world. And as much as I could help, 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 I think I feel that I would be a great asset that way, and I was thinking that like, oh my gosh, imagine if that did happen here, what would we do? It's just I don't even want to think about it because it's so heartbreaking. But I do want to say that I'm glad that so many of you guys from around the world are concerned as well. I think that's a beautiful thing. But Mayor, let me know um, if you want to go to AA meeting. I'm joking. I'm not pushing you. I know you're not. I know you're cool in your life right now. You can have a good drink and chill. Isaac, drill, baby, drill. What's that mean, Isaac? Drill, baby. So, yeah, guys, that's story time today. And I just wanted to let you guys know what that story time was all about. And you guys don't think that everything goes on like that here. Like that woman just said, that was her experience. I hope all your jaws are dropped. I hope none of you guys would buy a $20,000 car for anyone, anywhere around the world. Especially if he never had a motorcycle before. Like, at least buy the man a motorcycle first. Let him move his way up. And you know what I'm saying? I don't know, girl. Maybe you just need to love yourself more and invest that 20,000 into something that has something to do with you. But in any case, guys, today it rained. I was rained out. My day was rained out. For some of you guys that were on my live to air yesterday, you probably heard that I was going to go out and have a very busy day today. Well, it did rain, but there was no hurricane. A hurricane was predicted, like another tropical storm. It rained all last night and it drizzled all today. Not too much rain at all. And right now it's not raining. The ground's still a little wet. That's about it. And so tomorrow I'm going to go out and do some videoing of an apartment right over here in Los Cerros. I was supposed to go there today. And it's a 2-bedroom apartment. And it's nice, furnished, and it's up on the hill overlooking the bay. Beautiful little place, and it's owned by a Dominican, so I always love supporting the Dominicans here and everything. And it's owned by such a lovely lady. She has a colmado right here, a bodega, like a corner store right here, and I love her. She's a Christian woman, and she is amazing. Her niece, I work with her niece because her niece also owns property here too. And yeah, really good family, upstanding family. So you would have yourself a wonderful landlord. You can get it for monthly. So you let me know. I'm going to go visit it tomorrow, and I'll put that video up most likely Wednesday. Tomorrow I am going as well to do that video. I'm going to try to get out to Puerta Plata to go see if I can go get a facial done. I want to go get a chemical peel, but the esthetician didn't get back to me. So maybe after that I'm just going to come home. I have a few clients. I'm just going to chill out. Oh, but at 4:30 I go to my AA meeting at New Life Church in La Mulata. Okay, so if you are right now going through something yourself and you just want to, be sober for a moment, you're not promising any other thing, just for one day, come join me tomorrow and, see what the group is like and have a little fun. And if you can't join tomorrow, it's every Tuesday and Thursday at 4:30 in La Mulata. If you're coming to town for a week and, you are already in sobriety, you're already in recovery, and you're just looking for a place to have a meeting, there are meetings here in Cabarete and also Sosua. I just want you to know that. And if you need a sponsor, you can go to any of those meetings because there are a lot of people that can sponsor you. And the meetings are in English, and you can also get meetings in Spanish if you speak Spanish. Okay, so I just want to let you guys know that. And yeah, Wednesday is going to be a busy day for me because all the stuff I was going to do today, I'm going to be doing Wednesday. So I'll be out in Cabarete Wednesday. And I will keep you guys connected, updated, and informed. I like that. Connected, updated, and informed. I like that. Watch me forget it now. But in any case, guys, I just want to say I love you so much. I appreciate you for always sharing time with me. And Deborah Smith, what's up, girl? If a person get used up, that's because they allowed them to do it. She said used up. Yes, Deborah in La Casa. She got used up $20,000 on a car. I wouldn't even spend $20,000 on myself for a car. I'd rather go buy a junker for $4,000. Here, who buys a car for $20,000 unless they got stacked up Benjamin, or unless they're getting some really good whatever. Even if I'm getting good bad action, I'm still not going to buy a guy a car at all. A moto, I bought a guy a moto, but I got my use out of it too, right? Because I didn't have to pay for a motor concho, and I didn't pay for the last payment, and it was $1,000, right? And so I really only paid for the first couple of payments as I got payments. And so I got good credit out of it, and he has the moto, and we're both happy at the end of the day. I mean, it is what it is, but I don't regret that because it wasn't a big expense. It's not in my name. And, if I ever need anything from him, he's always there. So then there's no hate, no animosity or anything like that. Some of you guys might remember that from like a year ago when I was living in Cabarete. Can you guys believe in September I'll be here for a whole year? Yeah, my first place that I've ever been in for a whole year in the Dominican Republic. So I'm pretty excited about that. And yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone. Deborah, Carl. Oh my gosh, there's so many people right now. I know off the top of my head, I'm so sorry, but so many of you guys messaged me on WhatsApp, and you guys told me, like, you give me so much love and support. You, like, when I woke up this morning, I was like, I was in tears, to be honest with you. Deborah, when I read your message, I cried. Like it was like morning dew because I woke up and I grabbed my cell phone and I just scrolled and I started to see all these messages from you guys, my viewers, telling me to keep up the work and keep up the good work, and recovery life is wonderful, sobriety is wonderful, and you guys gave me propers for being so honest with you, and I love that. Thank you. But I also want to thank you guys for the morning tears. They were tears of joy because I felt so loved, and it was like morning dew. I washed my face with my tears, and I was like, oh, I felt so thankful. So thank you, you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for subscribing as well. Like I thank you. I thank you. It just means more to me than you could even know. If you guys are coming here and you have any questions about apartments, any questions about buying condos, buying land, buying villas, and if you need an airport pickup drop off, if you need to rent a car, if you want to rent a driver, if you want to know about the guagua, which is the local bus. I'm trying to just think of everything off the top of my head. If you guys want to know about Uber Pool here, I call it Uber Pool, but it's really called public car. And you guys want to know about different areas, let me know. I am a one-stop shop, and I would definitely love to give you that information. I also do consultations. So if you want a consultation, an hour or a half an hour chat with me, private chat, let me know. We will go through everything: how to open up a bank account, what you need to open up your bank account, also a doctor, if you need a doctor, a dentist, and so much more. I just, if I don't know, I will find out for you. And that's exactly what I love about this place, because everyone has their ear to the ground and everybody is willing to help. So I want to say that. And, this story is not to bash anyone here. Please, like the way that one person just came on and joined a bandwagon that wasn't even a wagon, and it's not, this is not what I'm saying. I'm just telling you about my experience from this one story. And I'm just telling you guys, be aware all around the world. Because if I really am being real, this is the first time I ever heard about anyone spending that much on a vehicle here. But if I'm really being real as well, anything you give to anyone here is probably not going to be as much as what you would spend where you're from, you know? Unless, of course, you are really being taken advantage of and you don't know because you're just being overly naive. But that could happen anywhere. Dominican people are very kind, they're very loving, and that's why I'm here where I'm at. And they are hard workers and they hustle. And I've learned so much from the Dominican families, the Dominican culture, the Dominican music, the Dominican food, even the Dominican dogs and cats. Absolutely. Even right down to the cats and the dogs, even their natures are so beautiful. Like cats are cats are dangerous. They are just who they like are the kings in the who they will look right at you. Noche Noche runs from them. I have to tell Noche. Noche is my dog, for those of you who don't know. I have to tell Noche, girl, you're a dog. Like, come on. She runs from them. The cats are literally cool cats. I don't know any cats like that in Canada. And they run things. And the dogs, they're cool. They're not vicious. Some of them walk up and down the streets. They know their limits. They guard their homes. They're amazing. So I just can't tell you how much I love this place and how much I love the people. And if you have anything bad to say about them, that is your experience. And you really should think twice before you put anyone down for your experience. Like someone just said on the post here, I forget who said it. Was it you, Deborah, or someone else? Oh, I'm so sorry, whoever said it. But nothing is done. No, things are done for us, not to us, right? Because when someone does do something, it's to teach you and to educate you in order for you to grow, not for you to slam someone else for actions that you did. No one twisted your arm behind your back, maybe twisted your legs above your head in bed, and that got your head all twisted, but no one twisted your arm. You did what you wanted to do on your own free accord. And if someone took advantage of you, they did it because they saw how silly it was to buy a car for $20,000 for someone that you probably not even living with or even in a whole relationship with or whatever. And you probably didn't even know them very long. Right? So, of course, they're going to take advantage of you. They're like, oh, that was easy. Right? And I think they were doing that. Who? When I was younger, I did my thing too. I dated some men back in the day, older men that were very wealthy. I was on the radio and I dated a lot of wealthy men back in my day to the point now where if a man tells me he has money, it doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't. I met a man a few couple of months ago and he's like, oh, I telling me about his money all the time and how women chase him. I couldn't even be bothered with it. We're not compatible. You know, if he wanted to brag about his money so much. And then also the other day I met someone and he was bragging to me about his money. You know, but the other day I met someone and he's an African from Nigeria, and I forget his name. I was drunk when I met him. See, guys, that's why I got to stay in AA because I could have met someone real special, but I was drunk when I met him. And I was like, oh, I got to go home now. I left the club. I was at Cadillac Music Lounge, Music Cafe. Okay. So if you're that Nigerian guy, you're tall. You walked me to the Motorcon show. Like there was something happened. It was during, I think it was August 9th or something like that. It was just last week. But you were talking to me about yourself and you were so cool. And I told you I had to go home. The reason why I had to go home was because I had a couple of drinks. But at the same time, at that point, I was only taking out 2,000 pesos a day with me because I didn't want to drink more than 2,000 pesos worth of alcohol. So my 2,000 pesos was gone, right? As I had drank it up. And I didn't want you to buy me any drinks. And I didn't want anyone else to buy me any drinks. So and I looked at that as my exit. That was God telling me, girl, go home. Remember your agreement. So that's what I did. I told you I had to take a motor concho home, and you took me outside and you put me on the bike and you made sure I got home safely. So you, please give me a shout. Sorry I didn't get your phone number or pay much more attention to you, but I would like to now. Because I'm looking for love in all the right places. No more bars. At least not for now. And again, I'm going to AA. So if you guys want to come, you let me know. You let me know, eh? Okay. Now I'm going to sign out. But before I do, I just want to say, Deborah, did you feel the earthquake when it happened? No, I didn't. Diane Rosa, thank you. And Deborah, from my heart to yours. Thank you, you guys. I love you so much. I am going to go now and lay down, and I'm going to go to sleep. Noche's right here waiting for me. She knows the word thank you, and she knows when I'm getting off a live to air. Yesterday on my live to air, she came over to me and gave me a kiss because I was crying, and she knew. But usually she just stays behind the scenes like she is right now. And then when she hears me saying my goodbyes, she gets up and she looks at me like, you ready, Mom? Come here, Noach. Come. Come say hi to everyone. Hi. Hold on, guys. I'll let you say hi to Noche. Come here, sweetheart. Come. Oh. Here she is. Here's Noche. There's Noche. Oh, there's a good girl. Come here. Oh, there's a good girl. I kiss her, but I don't let her to lick my face because she licks. I kiss her, but I don't let her lick my face because she licks her butt. She cleans herself all the time. I think she obsessively cleans herself, which is great, right? But she loves cleaning herself all the time. Right? And me too, if she could get me. Oh, say hello to everyone. But I kissed her all over like this. I do. And I can't help it. I can't help it. She's my best friend. And she's my comfort here. So if you guys are coming down here, let me know. I love you. Oh, one last message. Hello, everyone. Randor, I love you. And Randor is one of those upstanding Dominican people. Randor contacted me. Randor was actually looking at YouTube channels. He's a Dominican that lives in Santo Domingo, and he watches all of us vloggers. And he's been watching us to learn English. And when he first contacted me 3 years ago on WhatsApp, he didn't even speak English. He knew hello. And he was trying so hard to learn English, and he's learning English all through our vlogging channels. And he's an honest to goodness Dominican, and I've never met him in person, but he's invited me to Santo Domingo. And Randor, when I do go to Santo Domingo, you're going to be the first person that I look up, because it is way overdue for us to chill out and hang out. And also, Bud, Randor. Oh yeah, you understand English now, right? I love you. Hold on, let me get my glasses. Joanne, I love your channel so much. So I booked a trip for February. Oh, yes. Thank you. Oh, wow. Awesome. And you're coming here to Sosua? I hope so. If you do, let me know. February is the month of love. Love boat. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, there's some more messages coming in here. Let me see quickly before I let you guys go. I always like to say hi. Yes, from Ottawa, Canadian girl coming to Sosua. All right, Joanne. That's awesome. Ottawa. Ottawa is the capital of Canada. There we go. Wow. Thank you so much for watching my channel. And also thank you for coming here, girl. Let me know. I can, set you up with a really good driver, set you up with some really good people here. And also, if you don't speak Spanish, learn a little bit now. By the time you get here, you can speak good enough to get yourself around on Duolingo. Duolingo. Lingo. You guys remember that song? Bingo. Bingo was his name. Oh, I don't know why I always have a song in my head. I love music. In any case, it's Duolingo, and you can learn any language. You can learn Swahili. You can learn Chinese, like Mandarin. You can learn almost anything on there. Even Navajo. It's a language that is almost extinct. So you guys can learn quite a lot. Joanne, yes, I will. Merci. Oh, you speak French. Yes, girl. Good. Duolingo. Yeah. And you could, within 3 months, be speaking good enough Spanish here to get yourself around. Okay, guys, I love you. And I might do a live to air tomorrow after my AA meeting. Just to let you guys know how I'm doing. I might. No promises, but I won't be drunk, so I might as well keep my time busy. All right, guys, I love you so much. Thank you for joining me. This is Story Time. I'm Cerise. Mwah. God bless you all. Dios te bendiga. Oh, wait, Randor, I know you speak better English now. I just want to say to you, too, keep up the good look, brother. You're doing well.